lot of times when you look at industry today, the student that's able to still know how to use a wrench or know their way around different testing and prototyping is one that excels the most. If you're able to diversify your experience outside of just your book smarts, that's what really sets yourself apart.
You're from New York. Now, from what I understand, there are something like 400 colleges and universities in New York.
Right.
New York is surrounded by the Ivy League schools.
Yes.
There are probably 36 exceptional colleges and universities just in Boston. They're growing colleges on trees on the East Coast. Why did you come to Purdue?
Yeah, it's definitely a long way from home. Actually, like 752 miles, if I remember correctly. I've had to make the drive at least 12 times so far. But why I came to Purdue was really my passion for cars. So when I was first looking at the different universities, I literally just typed in Google, like, automotive engineering universities.
Really?
And Purdue came up on the list, and I applied to many different universities, and I ended up traveling out here to Purdue through the minority engineering program's preview, which is just like an initial thing that they do to basically seek out new students and such. And I fell in love with the campus, in the environment, and I decided to come back. And overall, like, I'm happy that I made the decision that I made, because when I was first looking to go to college, I wanted to, like, create my own automotive design firm. Since then, I realized that I wanted to try to broaden my focus more in terms of just having a more engineering background with it, but still have that design-oriented side of things. And I've been able to accomplish that here.
So you are a senior in mechanical engineering technology. How did your interest in machines and gadgets and engineering, how did that first get started?
Absolutely. So a lot of my family members have actually been involved in a lot of different engineering backgrounds, and you can ask my parents. I was able to look at cars from like a mile away, sitting in the back seat, and be able to tell what kind of car it was just from the headlights of it. So I've always kind of wanted to tinker with things, Legos and such, and really I knew that I would have that kind of niche growing up, and I wanted to follow through with it.
So tell us about something, as you've been a student, that's been a favorite of yours in the MET program. Maybe it's a course, maybe a particular project you got to work on, a professor. What's been something that's really stood out in your mind from being an MET student?
Definitely the design courses, so like the different CAD courses. One that comes to mind was Paul McPherson's course. We definitely were able to do a lot with the different CAD software, and it really allowed me to basically not only market myself to different companies, but be able to really hone on some of the different ideas that I have for myself in terms of just design in general. Other than that, I've done research as well with Professor Garcia, and I did like a hybrid go-kart project with him through his research, where essentially we were using hydraulic technologies to assist with the hybridization of an electric go-kart. And that was a lot of fun as well. And lastly was Professor French. His dynamics course was a very, very fun course for me.
How did you like being involved in research as an undergrad?
It was great. I definitely recommend it to any other undergraduate student. Really great experience overall. Not only does it, again, allow you to market yourself, but it gives you a different idea in terms of what do you like, what do you dislike, and really continue to have that hands-on experience, that you get in the Polytechnic program.
You mentioned hands-on experience, and of course, the Polytechnic is all about getting students in all of our majors hands-on activities during their studies, real-world experiences. And part of that is that we recommend to all of our students that they look for internship opportunities. In fact, I think nowadays it's required in every major to have an internship opportunity. So I think a lot of students, at least my sense is that a lot of students look for one summer internship during their years on campus. But you got 3 summer internships. Can you tell us about the 3?
For sure. My freshman year, I secured an internship with Deere as a quality engineering intern. I was able to secure the majority of my internships through the National Society of Black Engineers, which is actually founded here on campus. So during my first conference that I attended, I had went there and just started talking to some of the representatives at John Deere, and I was able to interview and go forward with it. And it was a great experience. I was actually in Springfield, Missouri, where it was the remanufacturing facility. So they took in diesel engines from all over the world and basically broke them down and rebuilt them back up to essentially like new spec, or like new or better spec, actually. And that was very interesting because I was able to look at all the different quality plans and everything that had to be done in order to make sure that there were, if anything were to go wrong, here are the different steps that would be taken to get it fixed.
Was that your specific responsibility at John Deere, like quality assurance?
Yeah, so quality assurance, and more so working closely with the quality engineers and the different engineering teams that were at the facility too. So a lot of actually going out onto the floor, but also spending time with the different managers at the facility to make sure everything is running as it should.
So after your internship with John Deere in Missouri, the next summer you had an internship with Fiat Chrysler Automobiles in Kokomo, Indiana. What did you do there?
My responsibilities there was more like an operations supervisor, so I worked closely with the maintenance team to make sure that everything ran well. Like if there was any sort of downtime, what's the quickest way that we can alleviate that downtime and get the systems running again. On the 9-speed transmission line, which is where I was at primarily, they had during each shift upwards of like 700 transmissions that had to go through there. So it was definitely a lot. My most proud moment of that experience was we had this downtime specifically at what was called the helium test stand, and what it did was it would rotate the transmission and basically pump helium into it to see if there was any sort of leaks. The issue was that it would often get stuck, and we were looking at it for a while, like why is this happening? We'd have to come in on weekends and such, and we were able to find out that the reason it was getting stuck was the plastic rotating piece that raised it was expanding due to all the oil that was there.
What was it about your education at Purdue that helped you solve that particular problem?
My education here at Purdue was definitely integral in solving that problem. A lot of times when you look at the different lab-based courses that we took, whether it's the metals or the plastic, you learn a lot about different properties of how things come together. And I was able to use that same skill set when I was talking with my manager, because it was a team effort for sure, but it was definitely, I had a strong impact in making the final say in the decision and how we would actually find the root cause of the problem.
So your third internship, and I still think it's great that you've been on 3 internships. You know what, before I ask you about your third internship, how many of your fellow students have gone on as many internships? Is what's in my head out of date that I think students mostly go on 1, maybe 2? Or do a lot of your peers go on as many as 3? Or are you unique in that regard?
I would say in some ways I am unique in the regard that I have diversified my internship experience. So a lot of students will definitely stick with one company and basically be able to get an internship or a co-op each and every summer or semester, and then they would be able to go with the full-time experience. For me, I wanted to get more of a diverse background and see what other areas were of interest to me. And a lot of my initial experience catered more towards manufacturing, but I found my passion more so in product development with this final internship.
Okay, so let's talk about your final internship at Tesla in Fremont, California. Yes. What did you do there?
That experience was great. So I was on the craftsmanship team, and essentially with that role, I was like the liaison between the designers and the engineers to make sure everything looked good from a design perspective, but functioned well from an engineering perspective. So really, I was almost getting paid to do what I like to do on a regular basis. There was, in some ways, I was benchmarking the different competitors to see how we can make sure that the Tesla products had that premium quality standard that set itself apart in industry. And then I was also had a lot of hands-on experience too, where I would actually take apart an entire interior of one of the vehicles and rebuild it back so we can use it for as a testing mule.
And you said you've been a car guy since you were a kid, so 2 internships at auto manufacturers, you must have loved it.
I did, very much so.
Why do you think it's important that students get that hands-on experience that they would encounter during an internship?
I believe it's integral that the students get that kind of experience, primarily because it's something that you're going to be using every day in any of those engineering roles. A lot of times when you look at industry today, the student that's able to still know how to use a wrench or know their way around different testing and prototyping is the one that excels the most. If you're able to diversify your experience outside of just your book smarts, that's what really sets yourself apart in industry. Because quite frankly, the way things are nowadays, it's very competitive. Every student has a level of book smarts, but how can you set yourself apart to be successful in the different roles? And I mean, I'm happy I actually took the Polytechnic route, that I was able to really hone myself in, whether it's inside the class or even outside the class, wherever I've been able to develop my skills.
What have you found especially challenging during your time here in Purdue Polytechnic?
Definitely like realizing that you just need to give yourself credit sometimes for the different accomplishments that you've made. A lot of times when you look at all the different coursework, you're taking like upwards of 18 and maybe even sometimes 21 credit hours. You're moving fast. It's like every single step is like, okay, I got this done. What's next? What's next? What's next? And just to take a step back and just give yourself credit, like you got this done. That's good. Like let's move on to the next one, because a lot of times nobody's gonna be there to like pat you on the back like it's good that you got this done or you got this good grade. Like step back and give yourself credit. And I'm very happy I was able to figure that out at some point. Probably later in my college career, college tenure, I was able to figure it out, but definitely happy I was able to.
So that kind of implies that maybe in your first semester or two, you hadn't figured that out and you found difficulty in getting past that step.
Right. Yeah, so my first 2 years actually were very difficult. I actually started off in FYE, the engineering side, and I struggled, really didn't have that really strong support system. That's another thing I would actually add on to that too, is actually developing a strong support system early on. And I didn't have that for myself, and I struggled a lot, really couldn't really figure out like the next steps. And I looked towards Polytechnic and I realized that that would actually be a better fit for me. And I was glad I made that decision. Quite frankly, I probably should have started in Polytechnic, but I'm still happy that I was able to get to the space where I'm at right now anyway. And with my transition to Polytechnic, it's been perfect, just being able to basically not only develop that support system, gain the support of my teachers, mentors, doing research, and expanding it to where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm. What do you like to do for fun outside of your studies?
Outside of my studies, I actually love to work on cars. I'm actually work at a race shop part-time off campus. I actually am very interested in the entertainment industry. I've directed some plays before I got to college, but really enjoyed those experiences. I plan to actually do a little bit in entertainment at some point after I graduate as well. Love movies, love working out, just hanging out with my friends and everything.
Any student organizations you're involved in?
Yes, I'm actually involved with the National Society of Black Engineers, and we have conferences and meetings on a regular basis, and I've been a part of that organization since high school, actually. I was the founder and president of my Nesby Junior chapter in my high school as well. And then outside of that, I'm also very interested in entrepreneurship, and I've always had that kind of entrepreneurial mindset, and I'm involved with the Burton D. Morgan case competition as well. Not case competition, the entrepreneurship competition.
Our guest is Nadeem Ali. He is a senior in mechanical engineering technology here at the Purdue Polytechnic. You're graduating soon, so what's next?
Right now, my plan after graduation is to go back with Tesla out in California.
Really?
Granted, it's definitely pretty far from home. It's going to be a new experience for me, but I'm definitely looking forward to the experience overall. Being on the craftsmanship team was one of a kind for me, and I know that if I'm able to at least get in that role or a role similar to that, I'll be very happy with it.
What advice would you give to a high school senior who is considering Purdue Polytechnic, but they're not quite sure if that's the right choice for them?
I would tell them to ask themselves, are they ready for having a really broad experience? Overall, when you look at the Polytechnic program, you don't have to be stuck in one specific role. Like, if you want to code, you can code. If you want to get into robotics, you can get into robotics. If you want to be specific to automobiles, you can. If you want to get into have like a more bio track, you can. If you want to go into computer gaming, you can do that too. I mean, the Polytechnic program has many different options with it. So quite frankly, I would just say go for it. Once you get here, I know for a fact that you'll be able to figure out and decide exactly what it is not only your passion is, but what you want to go for.
So outside of thinking about what you just said, what your passion is or what your major should be, take a wider angle lens to the whole college experience. Would you have any advice about becoming a college student or what it's like in college for high school students?
Right. Definitely have fun. A lot of times, I believe students, they come in and they see how competitive everything is amongst not only competing with themselves, but competing with their peers. And just similar to what I was saying before in terms of stepping back and giving yourself credit for the things that you get done. That's definitely an integral part of being a successful college student. You're gonna hear a lot of different, well, I'll just call it noise of like, what did you get on this exam? What did you do here? My grade is this, my grade is that. And a lot of that can be just really overall a distraction. Staying focused on yourself is really the main goal that you need to have, and figuring out what it is that you want to do, because everybody's going to have their own opinion on not only what you should do or what they're doing. Really focus on what it is that you want to achieve, and that's more life advice at that point.
What would you like to go back and tell your 16-year-old self?
Yeah, so advice to my 16-year-old self would definitely be stay humble. When you're going into a role where you're kind of like at the top of your class, you've done a lot, you can get a level of hubris with you, but overall remind yourself that like you're one out of many, and you still have to not only set yourself apart, but be successful doing so too. And if you carry yourself with a level of hubris, often that kind of attitude can come back to bite you. And you just need to remember to just stay focused and focus on what it is that you want to achieve and the next steps from there. Set goals, and it will take you really far.